Hello and welcome to Client Server Models. If you haven't already, please do subscribe to my channel, like my videos. Teachers, you can find my resources on TESS, and also please follow me on Twitter. Now let's take a look at the internet, okay, because obviously the client server models do not exist without the internet. So the internet is simply a global system of interconnected computer networks that use the standard Internet Protocol Suite, okay, TCP/IP. And traces of the internet can be found in several parts of history, like there's earlier variations of the internet, such as in the 1960s, ARPA, which is part of the American Department of Defense, funded several large computer projects. Now, America is a large place, and many research centres, such as Harvard and various others, wanted to communicate quickly and, efficiently. So the projects are in several parts of America, and with the size of America, it's unrealistic to expect research groups to be able to travel and exchange information because the country is so big. So that's when ARPANET was founded, and information could be exchanged electronically. So let's take a look at the client-server model. Now, the client-server model began in the clients, basically began that the clients depended on their servers. So if the user typed in a calculation, they had to wait for the server to perform that calculation. So as computing got cheaper, RAM became cheaper to purchase, and obviously the more RAM there is, then the faster a computer can work. So the client nodes became a bit more powerful, and the central services became less important as time went on. So people could now keep basically their own desktop computer. So if we take a look here, okay, so you've got, for example, here various different nodes. So as you know, these days lots of people have laptops, many people have tablets, and desktop computers are still around. So now the servers are basically just big computers like this one, where files are kept on them. Okay, so the internet isn't a cloud, obviously, the internet is a wire. And basically, the peer-to-peer networking and the nodes are connected to that server through internet technology. So a systems administrator manages a whole network, so the clients are connected through the network, which allows the data to be accessed. So the data can be, for example, your Word documents, your PowerPoint documents, audio files, video files, and many others. So the client sends a request to the server, and the server finds the data as requested and simply sends it back to the client. So the server does what it says on the tin. It serves the computers. Now, the client server and the peer-to-peer networking model, now these work slightly differently. So the client server model will be used to separate a dedicated server, and specific client workstations will be connected to that server. So the users will be able to access most files which are simply stored on the server. So the server will dictate which users are able to access which files. Okay, so that's how it works. So you go to your client computer, for example, in school, you log in using your username and password. That request goes to the server looks on the database, see whether it matches or not, then responds back to the client computer and says, yes, you may enter, or no, that password is incorrect. Okay, then, for example, you may want to access your work from last lesson. So you go to your space on the server and you go, can I open this file from Miss Price's class? And the server will respond. So the client server will allow the installation of software onto the client's computers as well. So essential security database and password to log in are obviously on the computers, as we discussed earlier. So once logged onto the system, the user will have access to network resources. Okay, so network resources can be any software, space on the server, any shared files, and so on. The client server networks can be as large as you want them to be, and a central server takes care of the delivery and sending the storing of emails. So a stable system basically is a stable system, as there is always a nightly backup, so deleted resources can be restored. Okay, so servers are always backed up. Now, as you know, as you probably experienced, there can be bottlenecks if a client requests the same resource at the same time. So, for example, if several classes at one time wanted to go onto the internet, then that can cause a bottleneck. So now we know what the server does. Okay, so we know we can log on, we know we can save files on there, we know we can access resources that are on that server. So if we wanted to open up PowerPoint, we can. If we wanted to open up Word, we can, or any other software that's saved in there. But what exactly is it responsible for? So the file server is responsible for all of these things. Okay, so central storage and management of the data files. Okay, so it will allow other network access people to access them. It has to share information without using devices such as memory sticks. Then you can set up a folder on a shared drive. Any computer can be configured to the host machine. It can act as the file server, and that's what it's responsible for. So now let's take a look at, skipped on a bit quicker there. Now, the network hardware. So we're going to look at different types of hardware. Okay, so this is the definition of the router that I got from cisco.com. Okay, so the router receives and sends data onto the computer networks. So the routers are sometimes confused with hubs, modems, or network switches, but they're not the same. However, routers are so clever that all these functions can be combined. Okay, so and it can connect with the devices to improve the internet access or help create business for networks. So a router is a very, very clever device. Okay, then we've got the other network hardware, which is a gateway. Now, a gateway can also be a software. Okay, but what the gateway does is it converts the data passing between a dissimilar network so that each side can communicate with each other. So, for example, if we're talking about research labs, like one research lab may have a different network to, say, another research lab's network. But what the gateway will do is that it will allow these networks to be able to communicate with each other. So it's kind of like the middleman, like the mediator. So, and it converts the data packets into the correct network protocol. So then that way they can be read by both networks. Now, the server. So the server is a network computer that is providing a specific service to the computer network. So the server does what it says on the tin. It serves. It's like a butler or a maid. So the server can serve as a file server if you want it to, and the users can use the usual file functions such as copy and delete, etc. And then also you can have one as a print server on larger networks. So large networks where a computer is provided, the sole task is basically to print tasks on the network. Okay, so it will basically be connected to the printer, your node will be connected to that server, and then basically you can print your documents. Okay, now we're on to exam questions. So, oops, sorry, it stopped sharing one moment. I don't know why it stopped sharing, I didn't ask it to. But nevertheless, there we are. Okay, so let's do some exam questions. So I'm just going to get my text tool here. So I'm not going to use a graphics tablet anymore. My writing was so messy. Right. So describe what is meant by client server of. Describe what is meant by a client server model of network computers. So now, as I said, the server does what it says on the tin. So the server is there to serve the clients. Okay. So it's there to serve. Now, so it's a too much question, so we've got to add in others. So the other basically serve the computers that other computers are known as clients. So Now, what do the servers do? So basically, the server provides services such as file serving, print serving, and applications. Okay, so it's a 2-mark question. I think that would be enough. Now, 2 benefits. Okay, so 2 benefits. Now, this is very, very easy. And we discussed this in class before. Okay, so one benefit is that resources can be shared. Okay, so this can be space on a server, this can be a printer, it could be anything. Okay, but that's the biggest thing about the client server model is that resources can be shared. And obviously, as we discussed as well, I would keep this as simple as possible. Okay, so there's other things that you can discuss. So resources and files are shared or centralized. Okay, and as I discussed it earlier, okay, all files, let's say all data is backed up regularly. Okay, right, so I think that was very, very straightforward and a very easy 4 marks. Okay, so let's put this back on slideshow and let's take a look. Okay, so yes, at least one computer is used to serve, the other computers are referred to as the clients. Server provides services or applications which may be requested by clients. So maybe I should have added that in better, which may be requested by clients. Okay, so that's where we can improve our exam technique. Now, any to from for the next question. Files and resources are centralized, okay, as I said, shared. Creation of security and managing security. Okay, so that's like passwords and so on. Users need usernames and passwords to access the network. So there we go. Centralized backup, as we said. Internet capability, internet monitoring, that's a good one as well. And clients can have less powerful machines, therefore less expensive to buy. Now, if you're going to use, now I know a lot of people use their exam techniques, they always say it's cheaper, but please always explain why, like they have here. And then saving resources on a server reduces the burden on the client. Okay, right, so if you have the homework booklet and you are my student, can you make sure that you complete, well, you should have already completed the before section before this got started, and make sure you complete the after section after you've completed all the tasks and you completed all the exam questions, and the exam questions are